Hello, hello. I'm Mitchell Earl, and you're listening to the very first episode of the Self-Directed Podcast, the podcast where we explore what it takes to build a legendary life and career on your own terms. We're going to interview guests and people from all walks of life, review some of our favorite books, and talk about big ideas and what it means to live a life self-directed, how to approach your life, career, and common questions that we all face when we get out into the real world for the first time and face those big challenges. I'm going to be co-hosting most of these episodes with Praxis CEO Cameron Sorsby. So while you wait for the very first episode to kick off, here is a sneak preview of what you can expect coming up. If you like it, hit subscribe on your favorite podcast player.
It's not that. I'm not afraid of hard work. This is just not for me. I hate it. And he's like, well, you're going to have a hard time finding a new job. And it's like, I'll have another job in 24 hours. And I threw the gauntlet down. And so I had to figure it out fast. And, sure enough, next day I put on a suit. It's 107 degrees outside in the Oklahoma summer. This is like August. It's so hot. I print off a stack of resumes and I go door to door to every law firm in the town where I went to college. And, after I'd been out there and been told no like half a dozen times, I finally stumbled into one law firm. Didn't even know it was a law firm. Lights are flickering. They just happened to be, one of their legal aides just happened to be leaving in like a week or two. And he's like, oh my gosh, this is great. We've been looking for a replacement. Let me go see if they have time to meet with you right now. So I get a meeting with these two attorneys, just happen to be looking for somebody. I walk in the door, right place, right time, and interview great. But they asked me like, why should we hire you? And I remember while I was walking back to the conference room to be interviewed, I was looking around and, white fluorescent lights all flickering, half of them are out. And I just remember, they asked me why should we hire you? I told him, I was like, well, I know how to make coffee and I can fix your lights. And I was being funny at the time, but they loved it. They laughed and they offered me a job on the spot. And it was great. I did end up getting to fix their lights one day, but I got the job and it was within my 24-hour gauntlet that I'd thrown down.
I did, I think, at an earlier age than most. I think I started to realize that, okay, I don't know what I want to do, but I know that I want to avoid what I don't want to do and what is not interesting to me. So As I was starting to think about career paths and interest, I really started to approach maybe midway through college, all right, I'm not going to worry about having a 5-10 year plan or seeking out the most prestigious career paths and really focus on that. I told myself all right, I'm just going to try to pursue what I'm most interested in right now and figure out how I can get experience, and let's see where it goes.
It didn't even start as an internship or anything like that. It started as a couple of my friends on campus at the time who I respected and were relatively well known. They were a couple years older than me, approached me with, hey, we're starting this thing. We just we found out about this project. We want to launch it on Oklahoma State's campus. Would you want to help us? I was like, absolutely. And it was a weekly newspaper. They needed an editor for the weekly content and somebody to help write and recruit writers and edit stuff or whatever. And I love to write. And I was like, yeah, absolutely. Sounds fun. And that first year, literally this paper didn't exist. And we went out and sold tons of ad space to local small businesses. We got a Twitter following up to several thousand people in a matter of years. We published 30 newspapers. I had 30 pieces of my own published, and I got to edit probably 500 pieces of content from different students. I got to recruit writers, and we got to ship this weekly paper, which was such a fascinating thing for me. It was just a fun thing. Over time, I actually came over to, I grew into the role of leading the paper for the next year and then helping grow it over the next year. So it was paid at that point. But for that first year, it was just something that sounded exciting.
Yeah, of course, while you're in it, you're you're thinking big picture of like, oh, what could this lead to?
Yeah.
And I was pretty like aware and inquisitive about, hey, people who do these types of things that I'm doing, like what could they end up doing in the future? But it wasn't from an angle of I need to figure out what I'm going to be doing in 10 years. And then the first time I felt like truly excited and had more of that long-term vision of like, this is what I want to do, was when I first joined Praxis and the series of events that led up to that. That was joining Praxis, working for them, working for the company. It was like, all right, I'm all in on this one thing. Still, like, I don't care where it leads me to afterwards. I'm treating it as an end itself. What was kind of cool about that early team was it just felt like we were a small team and we were set out to do something big. And it kind of like personally, it gave me the confidence, even though like in many ways we were failing forward. It gave me the confidence of like, oh, like, yeah, we're going to be the team to do this. We're going to build something great here. And it doesn't matter how much experience you have. It doesn't matter, like, do you have existing skills that can contribute directly? Like, we're all just together. Like, I think we all had a very deep understanding of the vision of the company we were building and the mission. And like, we had that, I think, like founders mentality and confidence. So I feel like that kind of like kick-started things for me. Gave me the confidence to just be like, all right, and complete, like, what do we need to do to win?
No student had ever gone in there and defied this guy's authority before. And this is a tenured guy, very well respected in the university. And I was just like, this is so insane. This is so insane. This is material I knew. There was no need for me to even come to class. There was no avenue for me to bypass this course, but I had to do it. And not only did I had to do it, I had to play by this guy's rules in order to succeed. And that did not make sense to me.
The consistent theme for me was I did not take to a classroom setting growing up. But at the same time, I loved learning. Like, I think I was a naturally kind of intellectually curious kid. Yeah. And I loved playing sports. So school, like formal schooling, very much felt like this 8-hour block, 5 days a week that got into the way of the things that I actually wanted to do. And I think that's stuck with me, and definitely a big part of what got me excited and passionate about Praxis, and definitely I think hindered me, as well as I think I learned some valuable lessons from those early experiences.
And one of the things, the mental models that I love is this idea of iteration cycle. And when I was younger, the iteration cycles were a lot faster and shorter term. And it was like, I can run 50 different tests while I'm in school. I can be a part of like 20 different clubs. I can be working a part-time job. I can do all these things. And anytime I don't like one of those things, I can quit. But as I learned more about myself and the things that I enjoyed, those iteration cycles changed and they became longer. Like, I was at some jobs once I got into my career for a longer period of time because I loved what I was doing. And it took longer for me to graduate out of that cycle. But when I was just getting started out and I had no idea, it was test as many things as possible and run those tests as quickly as possible. And that was accidental. But like, had I had that knowledge then, I probably would have done even more things.